Welcome to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe my YouTube channel. The Sun joined hero gunners firing a British-made AS-90, the biggest gun in Britain's arsenal, until we gave all 50 of them to Ukraine. The crew insisted they had enough ammo, for now, and hailed the weapons for their range and precision, despite them being 30 years old. The self-propelled howitzer, a heavy gun on tracks, fires shells the size of traffic cones more than 15 miles. We joined troops from Ukraine's 117th Heavy Mechanized Brigade on the Donbass front as they held off a Russian assault. They told us they had unleashed hell on a Russian mortar line near the bomb-blitzed town of Pokrovsk, using a British AS-90 firing U.S. shells in a coordinated blitz with other heavy guns nearby. Private Pasha, 35, the gun commander, said, "Ammunition? For now, it's all good. We don't have any limits, and if we have a target we will shoot it." But how long that lasts is in doubt after Donald Trump halted supplies to Kyiv this week and stopped sharing U.S. military intelligence. Britain has given Ukraine more than 300,000 artillery shells, mostly sourced from third countries which had Soviet-caliber stockpiles. NATO heavy artillery uses 155mm shells, a different caliber from Soviet guns. So the UK raided its stockpiles to send 90,000 155mm shells for weapons such as the AS-90, and the government ordered an 800% increase in domestic shell production, but that contribution is dwarfed by the US donation of more than 3 million shells under President Biden. The AS-90 crew confirmed that US ammo was the most plentiful, but insisted British shells were the best, and they saved them for the juiciest targets such as Russian tanks and other large artillery pieces. In an underground bunker where the gun crews live when they are not on missions, Troop Sergeant Ilya told The Sun, "British rounds are the most precise and the best quality. They go the furthest, they don't dirty the barrels. They are working well, maybe because they are the native shells for this gun. We keep them for the really juicy targets that we can destroy." The Royal Artillery says the gun's range is 24.7 kilometers, or just over 15 miles, but SGT Ilya revealed their longest successful strike was at 29.6 kilometers, more than 18 miles, when they hit a Russian KAMAZ truck full of ammunition and poorly hidden in a tree line. He said the quality and quantity of ammunition were equally important, adding, "We want to hit the important targets, but we also need to help our infantry with quantity. So we use British rounds for accuracy and American rounds for volume." They also get shells from Europe, with the Czech Republic, Estonia, Germany, and Norway all ramping up supply, as well as increasingly from Ukraine's own growing domestic production. Gunnar Iyer, a 60-year-old former construction worker, said, "We are very grateful for everybody who is helping, especially Britain, America and Europe. Without all of their help, it will be really hard to stay on and survive." But he insisted Ukraine had endured a shell shortage before, when Republicans in U.S. Congress blocked $61 billion of aid from December 2023 to the following April. Iyer said, "Normally we fire around 60 shells a day, but during the shortage it was down to 20. The 4-month lull helped Russian troops to gain momentum and they seized the Ukrainian town of Avdiivka. At the worst points in the war, Russia was firing 10 to 12 shells for every one that Ukraine could let loose at the Russians. But Kyiv has successfully hammered Russian ammunition depots while increasing its own arms supply. Today, the shell-firing ratio is closer to 2 to 1, though still in Russia's favor. Ukraine fires around 5,000 shells a day to defend its 630-mile front line, which equates to more than 1.8 million a year, a colossal amount, but still not enough to stop Russian forces advancing. 4 days before we arrived, the barrel of an AS-90 exploded. The crew escaped unharmed and replaced it with a working gun almost immediately, but the gunners complained it would take 2 months or longer to get the damaged howitzer back in action. As SGT Ilya put it, there is a big queue at the repair shops. Britain has donated 150 AS-90 gun barrels, and the government is funding a UK barrel factory for the first time in almost 20 years. But production will not start for years. The British AS-90 is something of a battlefield veteran, having first entered service in 1992. But SGT Ilya said that, astonishingly, the Ukrainian forces are yet to suffer a combat loss since the AS-90s first arrived in the country in early 2023. And that is despite taking part in Ukraine's ferocious, but ultimately unsuccessful, summer offensive in the city of Zaporizhia. Ilya said, "The most losses we have are because they are old and they break down." Moments after they had finished firing, the sound of the guns was replaced by the roar of the AS-90's engine, a 660 horsepower turbocharged V8, as it raced to an underground hideout. When they were based in Zaporizhia in 2023, the AS-90 crews said they faced almost constant counterattacks from remote-controlled drones virtually every time they fired a shell. Now, in the city of Donetsk, around 140 miles away, things are not quite as bad, partly because they have changed their tactics, which they asked the Sun not to reveal, to make the gun much harder for the enemy to find. And as soon as it was hidden away, Pasha switched on a drone jamming device to blind Russia's eyes in the sky. Before the war, he worked as an agricultural engineer, fixing American John Deere tractors and combine harvesters. He said, "After that, it is easy to understand how these British AS-90s work, and we have a good mechanic in our battery." The biggest threat to him and his comrades is no longer drones, but the devastating glide bombs which Russia has developed by fixing crude but effective guidance systems onto its air. Munitions. Gunnar Sarai, a 40-year-old electrician in civilian life, said, "Of course we are grateful to America and Europe for their support. We hope it will continue. But they should know that we have no choice in this, and if we run out of shells, we will pick up our rifles and fight with whatever we have."